Hey folks, my name's Ryan, and I wanted to make a video today about my uncle dying of AIDS. This is going to be a tough one, so I'm going to be moving the camera off me here and there for stress-related issues. So, uh, when I was 5 years old, my uncle was diagnosed with HIV. Obviously, at 5, I didn't know anything about it, wasn't told about it. Uh, it didn't take very long, though, for him to end up in the hospital because this was before all the AIDS medications. Um, and what AIDS medications were available weren't necessarily helpful at the time. That's a whole nother topic and has to do with Fauci, ivermectin, and all the same stuff that happened with COVID, but that's a whole other video. For now, I want to talk about my uncle. Growing up, my uncle was a really nice, good uncle. He did lots of stuff with me, was very kind, very generous, very fun. He was a good uncle. He was a hairdresser. He was a gay man. He modeled. Uh, he liked plays. He liked cats. Les Miserables. He did some traveling, but he was pretty well known for doing a lot of charity. He actually volunteered for United Way Children's Charities for a long time. He was a hairdresser, as I said, and modeled. He worked part-time as a hairdresser. He had a year-long waiting list. It took you a year to get an appointment with him. He was cutting a lot of the rich people in Indianapolis. He was their hairdresser. And because he was doing so well at it, he didn't have to work all the time. So he would work part-time and volunteer for charity part-time. And he donated a lot of his time and energy helping kids. He'd dress up as Santa and deliver Christmas presents around Christmas time and all that stuff. He was a good man. He really was. And when he got AIDS or HIV, they didn't know much about it. So there was a time where when they came in to give him medical care, the nurses were dressed up like they were treating Ebola. It was really scary as a kid. I was 10 when he died. And so, but it took 5 years of him slowly dying. There was a lot of time in the hospital, a lot of hospital visits. He was in a lot of pain a lot of the time. He got really sick. He weighed 65 pounds when he died, holding my hand on my grandparents' couch when I was 10 years old. And it had a big impact on me. And it had a big impact on me in a couple of ways. One, just the emotional fallout from that. Not understanding why. I always had this idea as a kid that if you were good, then things would be good for you. God would be good to you. And I saw someone who I knew to be a good man suffer tremendously. Suffer more than people should have to suffer. There was a point where when you have full-blown AIDS, even things like very little light becomes excruciatingly painful. So there was a point where all his windows were taped up in his room. The only lights were coming from the machines that were pumping painkillers into him and all that. He was getting 2 large bags of liquid morphine every day. And he was still in excruciating pain. And we'd have to come in, close the door. There were blankets hanging from the ceilings and, semi-taped to the wall. You'd have to walk through one and then shut it and then go through another one and shut it just to keep any light from coming into his room, because he would cry out in pain. It was absolutely awful. I know things are better now for HIV patients, but that is not a fun disease to have if you don't have modern medications. And even with modern medications, it's still not fun. There's a lot of side effects from those medications and social effects and everything else. But it is much better than it was for my uncle in the 80s. He died in 1987. Or maybe 88, 87, 88. It also had a big impact on my view of marijuana, because he had such a hard time eating. Some of my relatives got him marijuana, which is still illegal in Indiana for medical use. Amazingly enough, for a state that a large percentage of the population calls themselves Christian. But that was the only time he could actually eat food, was when he was given cannabis. And I never forgave my government for that. And I will fight for people's rights to medicate themselves with whatever it is that they think that they need to medicate themselves, that doesn't cause them to lose all their humanity, like fentanyl. I think that's a bit much. But within reason, why on earth is it a bunch of rich, corrupt, old, incompetent jackholes in Washington, D.C. that get to decide how we medicate ourselves? Any judge, politician, or prosecutor involved in criminalizing cannabis or cannabis users should go to prison for the rest of their lives. The end. You arrest someone for weed, you should spend the rest of your life in prison. You prosecute someone for weed, you should spend the rest of your life in prison. You make weed illegal, you vote against legal weed, you should spend the rest of your life in prison. You're scum. We're not meant to be ruled. We're not slaves. Our government doesn't own us, and we should act like it. And Republicans who think that they should be able to have whatever gun they want, but other people not be allowed to smoke a joint, you can kiss off too. You're not Republican. You're not a liberal. You don't believe in freedom. You believe in authoritarian crap, except for where it serves you. But if you want to criminalize other people, don't be surprised when you get criminalized. And all these influencers and YouTubers coming out recently talking smack about weed. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. I don't know who's paying you, but I'm guessing it's Big Pharma, and you should be ashamed for selling out human beings. Because that's exactly what you're doing, scumbags. But my uncle was a good man. His name was Michael Kellmeyer. And he had the longest funeral in Indianapolis history at the time. Miles and miles and miles. All sorts of people came out. And this was at a time when gay people were still called the FAG word in Indiana. And he broke a lot of the narratives around that. And he certainly did with me. And his friends too. His friends stayed friends with my family and would come over and mow my grandparents' grass. They'd come over for Easter and Christmas. They'd come hang out with our family. They were good people too. I'm glad I got to know them. And I'm glad I got to know my uncle before he left. He was a good man. Rest in peace, Uncle Mike. Thanks for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll have a cash app in the description. It's not a toll booth. Take care. God bless.